What if the biggest thing standing between you and the life you want isn't a lack of talent, money, time, or opportunity, but simply where you're placing your focus? I've been thinking about that question a lot recently. I'm recording this from home in Edinburgh, and if I'm honest, it's been a strange week. On one hand, I feel driven. I feel excited about the future. I feel like there are opportunities ahead of me that weren't there a few years ago. But at the same time, I've also been struggling with energy. Not motivation, not ambition, energy. And it's made me start asking some uncomfortable questions. One of those questions is whether we sometimes blame the wrong thing. When we feel stuck, we often assume we need more motivation. When we feel tired, we assume we need more rest. When we aren't moving forward, we assume we need a better plan. Maybe that's true sometimes, but lately I've been wondering if the problem is often much simpler. Maybe the problem isn't that we don't have enough energy. Maybe the problem is that we're spreading our energy across too many things. Maybe we're trying to walk in 10 different directions at once. I look back at different periods of my life and I can see it clearly now. There were times when I was incredibly busy. Every day felt full. Every day felt productive. I was always doing something. Yet somehow months would pass and nothing meaningful had changed. I wasn't standing still, but I wasn't really moving forward either. There's a difference. I think many of us confuse movement with progress. We mistake activity for achievement. We fill our days but neglect our direction. One thing I've noticed as I've got older is how valuable attention really is. When you're young, attention feels unlimited. You can waste hours and not think much of it. You can drift through weeks and assume you'll make it up for it later. Then one day you realize time isn't slowing down. If anything, it feels like it's speeding up. The weeks become months, the months become years, and suddenly attention becomes one of the most valuable resources you own. Not money, not possessions, attention. Because whatever gets your attention eventually gets your life. That's something I've been noticing this week. Where does my attention actually go? Not where I say it goes, not where I wish it went. Where does it really go? Because those are often two very different answers. It's easy to say something is important. It's much harder to look honestly at how we're spending our days. Your calendar tells the truth. Your habits tell the truth. Your actions tell the truth. And sometimes the truth is uncomfortable. I don't think modern life helps. Everywhere you look, there's something competing for your attention. Notifications, videos, news, social media, emails, messages, advertising, opinions. Everyone wants a piece of your focus. Entire industries are built around capturing it, holding it, selling it. And most of the time we don't even notice it's happening. We slowly become distracted without realizing we've drifted. Then we wonder why our goals feel further away than they should. What's interesting is that I've been feeling genuinely excited about the future recently. Not because everything is perfect, far from it. There are still challenges, there are still setbacks, there are still days where I question things. But there's a difference between uncertainty and being lost. Years ago, I felt lost. Today, I feel uncertain. And strangely, that's progress. Because uncertainty means you're moving. Lost means you're standing still. At least that's how it feels to me. I've also realized that some of the most important changes in my life didn't happen because of giant breakthroughs. They happened because I kept showing up, day after day, week after week, often without seeing results, often wondering whether anything was happening at all. Most people see the outcome. They don't see the repetition. They don't see the ordinary days. They don't see the boring work. But that's where almost everything is built. Not in dramatic moments, in ordinary ones. I think that's why so many people quit. Not because they're incapable, not because they're weak, because progress is often invisible while it's happening. You go to the gym and you look the same. You work on a project and nothing changes. You save money and the number barely moves. You learn a new skill and still feel like a beginner. And eventually a voice starts asking whether it's worth continuing. I've heard the voice plenty of times myself. I think most people have. The strange thing is that the people we admire usually hear the voice too. The difference is they keep moving anyway. Not because they're special, not because they're fearless, not because they have an unlimited motivation, because they've learned something many people haven't. They've learned that action often comes before motivation, not after. You start, then motivation appears. You move, then momentum arrives. You take another step, then confidence begins to grow. It's often the exact opposite of what we expect. Lately, I've been asking myself what I'm actually trying to achieve. Not next week, not next month, but over the next few years. The answer isn't completely clear. I don't think it ever is. But I know the direction. I know I want to keep moving. I know I want to keep improving. I know I want to build things that matter. And I've realized something important. The clearer the direction becomes, the easier focus becomes. Not because distractions disappear, because they become easier to recognize. You start seeing the difference between what matters and what simply feels urgent. I think many of us spend too much time looking for the perfect plan, the perfect strategy, the perfect opportunity, the perfect moment to begin. Meanwhile, life keeps moving, the clock keeps ticking, the years keep passing. I've learned that clarity often comes from movement, not thinking movement. You don't figure everything out first and then start. You start, then you learn, then you adjust, then you improve, then you continue. Looking back, almost every good thing in my life started with imperfect action, not certainty. There's another thing I've noticed. Energy often follows progress. When I feel stuck, my energy drops. When I feel like I'm moving forward, my energy rises. Even small wins matter. A completed workout, a productive day, a difficult conversation, a project moving in the right direction. Those little moments create momentum, and momentum creates belief. You start believing your efforts matter. You start believing the future can be different, not because somebody told you, because you're seeing evidence for yourself, and evidence is powerful. I don't know exactly where the next few years will lead. I don't know which plans will work. I don't know which ideas will fail. I don't know what challenges are waiting around the corner. But I don't think certainty is the goal anymore. For a long time I thought it was. Now I think progress matters more than certainty. Because certainty can disappear overnight, progress stays with you. Every lesson, every mistake, every skill, every experience, every challenge overcome, it all compounds, even when it doesn't feel like it at the time. So let's go back to the question I asked at the beginning. What if the biggest thing standing between you and the life you want isn't a lack of talent, money, time, or opportunity, but simply where you're placing your focus? The more I think about it, the more I believe there's truth in that. Not because focus magically solves everything. It doesn't. Life is still hard. Problems still exist. Bad days still happen. But focus determines where your energy goes. And where your energy goes, progress usually follows. I've spent years believing I need more motivation, more confidence, more certainty, more answers. What I'm starting to realize is maybe I just needed fewer distractions. Maybe I just needed to keep returning to what mattered again and again and again. Because most people don't fail because they're incapable. Most people don't fail because they aren't smart enough. Most people don't fail because they lack potential. Many people fail because they stop. They lose focus. They get pulled in too many directions. They quit before the results arrive. Meanwhile, someone else keeps taking one more step, then another, and eventually that person disappears into the distance, not because they were extraordinary, because they stayed focused long enough for the results to appear. So if there's one thing I'd like people to remember from this episode, it's this. You don't always need more motivation. You don't always need a better plan. You don't always need another breakthrough. Sometimes you just need to keep moving. Focus on the next step, then the next one, then the next one. Don't stop, just keep moving. Thank you for listening.